So, before I decide to just jump right into this, I figured I would give a little bit of backstory that may or may not relate to that night. When I was only 2 years old, I lost both of my parents in Pennsylvania. So, from a very young age, I had a full concept of death. As a kid, I was used to seeing black human like creatures out of the corner of my vision, and as soon as I would glance over at it, it was always gone. So, to begin with, this night, years later, we moved to Florida, and this road we lived on was exactly half a mile long. There were tall trees on either side of the road, so when it got dark out, well, to say the least, it was dark. The road had a small hill at the beginning, and right at the top were two houses and a street light. At the very end of the road was my house and four others, but between the street light and the end of the road, which was roughly 3/4 of that half mile, was where the woods began. There was no other street light on the street except that one at the other end of the road. Nothing weird ever really happened, but once. One time I looked down to light a smoke and noticed a person's shadow right under the light. The shadow was like any other person's shadow flat on the ground. I never really thought much of it until, say, 4 years later. I was maybe 17 at the time and was headed out for a smoke before I went to bed. It was a hot summer night in Florida and we had heat lightning. Between the ages of 13 to 17 were some of the hardest years of my life. I guess you could say my parents' passing sunk in through those years. Anyway, I was having a bad night. My depression was pretty bad at this point. I had timed it where I could smoke one cigarette walking down my road and another walking back. I began my walk how I always did, threw in some headphones and started leaving my driveway. Once I got on the road, I lit up my first cigarette and began walking towards the street light. About a fifth of the way there, I changed the song on my iPod, and when I looked up, I noticed something standing in the street. I distinctively saw two kind of glowing red eyes, so my first instinct was to rub my eyes. I thought maybe my eyes were adjusting after changing the song on my iPod. This, however, was not the case. After I rubbed my eyes, I looked up and it was still there, and I went into a phase of like zoning out. I couldn't look away and it was making eye contact with me. I was too scared. My body froze up and I just couldn't look away. I couldn't move. I was just frozen there. Seemed like I was there for hours, but realistically it was probably only 10 seconds. The heat lightning flashed, and this time I saw the whole figure. It was roughly 500 feet away from me, but appeared to be roughly 6 feet tall and looked shrouded. It appeared like steam was emitting off its body. The body itself was pitch black, but around it was like a black steam. The worst part was the moment the heat lightning wasn't lighting up the sky. It was just like a horror movie. All you could see was the eyes, but it had moved closer without actually moving. It just stood there staring at me, and I couldn't move. After the first flash, its head appeared to be confused like a dog, slightly cocked to the side. The heat lightning flashed again. Its head went back straight and moved about 15 feet closer. This happened 2 or 3 more times, and I just snapped out of it. I turned around and ran as fast as I could back to my house, never daring to turn around for fear it would be right behind me. Since that night, I have never walked down that road again. It has been maybe 7 years since that experience. Every year when I come home to visit my grandparents, I'll smoke in the driveway sometimes, looking down the road. Every time I do, my hair stands up, and I get this feeling like I shouldn't go near it. Sometimes, even when driving down this road, I get this gut feeling I should stay away. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.